Happy Tuesday, happy Tuesday, happy Tuesday. What's going on, family? How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Come on up in here. Please hit that like button, comment, subscribe, share this video out because we're teaching tonight. I got on my teacher hat tonight. We're doing a little teaching. So we're talking about Black American history, Black American culture. Black American culture that stemmed from enslaved African culture. You know, we reviewed the Frank Zanu discussions last Saturday, and you know, Zanu made a bold statement that Black American people don't have culture. And actually, he went further on the Daily Wrap-Up Crew interview, saying that no African people throughout the diaspora have culture. People do have culture. From an anthropological standpoint and from a sociological standpoint, all aspects of Black American culture meet the definitions of culture. And I have that information. I have some of that information for us today. But we're going to dive deep, as deep as we can tonight. It's a school night. So for the time allotted, we're going to dive deep into some Gullah Geechee culture. And this is something that I want to learn more about. I actually just got off the phone with my mom asking her some questions because both of my parents have told me that we have Geechee roots. Both my parents have told me that we have ancestors that come from South Carolina, from the low country in South Carolina. And so that's Geechee area. And I know my dad is from Jacksonville, Florida. I know that what they call, I think the Carolina Corridor is what they call it, where it goes from North Carolina, from I think maybe Durham, North Carolina, down to Jacksonville, Florida. And that's that Carolina Corridor is those sea islands that were inhabited by the Gullah Geechee since they were brought here. Areas that they were put in to cultivate crops like rice and indigo. And so I just learned, I knew about tobacco and cotton, and I heard about the rice, but I didn't really learn too much about the rice until recently. But that was one of America's cash crops as well, the rice. So cotton, indigo, rice were three of America's biggest cash crops. And the Gullah Geechee were responsible for a lot of the rice and a lot of the indigo that were in the United States. So yeah, we up in here, man. We up in here. We doing our thing. I appreciate everybody for being up in here. Let's do it. Please hit that like button because we're going to get all the way up into it. I have two videos that I'm going to show. One is dealing more of the history and culture of the Gullah Geechee, and the other is the culture of the Gullah Geechee, but also how a lot of the Gullah Geechee lands is being gentrified by white people who didn't want the lands at first, but now they want the lands because, you know, they turn them into those resort islands, things like Hilton Head Island and everything. So I appreciate everybody for being up in here. D Scale said to Reed Nasheed and Phil Scott, don't talk about stuff like this. Hey, man, hey, I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate you enjoying this conversation. You know, everybody got their own lane. Everybody talk what they talk about. Will Justice, what's going on, my brother? Peace to you, my brother. Peace, 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 peace. Says not true. We were very free. What do you mean we were very free? What you mean not true? To what exactly? My brother Terrell, thank you for being up in here, brother. Thank you. He says, why are we responding to such ignorance? Oh, nah, man, we teaching. This is for our youth. This platform is for our youth to make sure, and our people to make sure we can learn about our information. So I saw the land there and we acres from years and years. Saw the Gullah Geechee land. I need to go. I want to go visit the Sea Islands myself. I really do. I've been to South Carolina twice. Been to Savannah 4 times. Been to Jacksonville plenty of times. Never really visited the Sea Islands. I need to go do that. When I did go to Savannah, I did learn a lot more about the Geechee culture. So yeah, we up in here, the Gullah Geechee folk up in here. But you know, Black American culture. Oh, your people from Alabama? Okay. Shout out to everybody in Alabama. Said Folly Beach is our land, but it was taken and some old stuff. Yeah, man, they've been taking they've been gentrifying all of that land over there. They've been gentrifying a lot of that sea islands over there. So rights came from Africa. Yeah. So, you know, they went over there and they got the Africans to cultivate the rights over here. So, and that's what we're gonna learn about. Europeans already taught the lesson. If you can't defend it, yep. You don't own anything. You gotta defend it. You gotta defend it. That's why, you know, I say if you build it, you must protect it. You're right, my brother. You're right. Said pinkies. What is that? I'm not sure what that is. What is that, Will Justice? Nemesis says it's always annoying hearing people stating ownership. If you own it, you decide what's going on with it. We don't. Hey, man, that's the European mindset, some European concepts and stuff. So, like I say, we're talking about culture from an anthropological and a sociological standpoint as well. I can't remember who the commenter was from Saturday, but shout out to that person because they gave me the idea to look up the definition of culture from an anthropological and a sociological standpoint. But I also looked at elements of African American culture from those standpoints. And it says some of the notes that I have, and it's given the anthropological definition of culture. So he says, I don't call them white. They're not white. They're pink. Gotcha. Will Justice. Gotcha. So it says anthropology treats culture as the primary mechanism by which human groups survive, reproduce meaning, and transmit knowledge across generations, right? Classic anthropological definition of culture, right? Say culture is that complex whole which includes knowledge, belief, art, morals, law, custom, and any other capabilities and habits acquired by man as a member of society. And thank you to Logical for the 1999 super chat. What up, Joe? What's going on? I didn't know if you remember us freestyling and Chimo back at FAMU. I do, man. Yes. What's up, man? I do remember us freestyling. Yes. What's going on, man? How you been? Have definitely been excited about your platform. And Eve, do you, brother? This was a good segment. Thank you, man. I do remember you us freestyling back at FAMU, man. What's going on? I appreciate you. Thank you very much, my brother. You know, I got to do my thing for the super chat.
All this money, homie. I got all this money, homie.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you, my brother. It's good. It's good. It's good seeing you. It's good hearing from you, man. Thank you, man. Yeah. Yes, sir. It's good to hear from you, man. We got to catch up. This is my email. Email me, my brother. We got to catch up. Email me, please. We got to catch up. Yeah. That's what's up. So, we're talking about anthropological components of culture, right? So, some of those anthropological components of culture is something like one of the doctors said in the video with Karen Hunter. Culture is something that's not a biological thing. It is, but it ain't. It's learned behaviors, learned customs, learned ways of living and interacting and surviving with your environment. These are things that are shared by a specific group of people because all specific groups of people create their own specific culture. This culture is transmitted across generations, and it encompasses the worldview, behavior, and symbolic systems of specific people, right? This definition remains fundamental because it establishes culture as a total life systems, not just traditions or aesthetics, but how the people live in totality. It encompasses everything about that group of people. It helps to explain that group of people. It helps that group of people to understand their place in the world and how they see themselves, their own worldview. So, Renee, how you doing? Renee, thank you for being here. Man, we've been over here cooking, man. We've been over here cooking, man. That's why we got to talk, man. We've been over here cooking, doing some good things. I just been doing my best to make sure I get our information out and educate my people, man. So I laid that foundation. Well, actually, let me get to the sociological standpoint. So sociological definition of culture, then I'm gonna get to the videos. So it says sociology focuses on how culture organizes social life, power, identity, and behavior. A this is a general sociological definition of culture, right? And according to this sociological definition, culture consists of the values, norms, beliefs, language, symbols, and material objects that are passed from one generation to the next, and it shapes the social behavior of the people. Sociology and this cultural sociology encompasses the norms, the values, the institutions, and the identity of the group. So from a sociological standpoint and an anthropological standpoint, Black American culture meets the definitions. And we're about to learn more about this Black American culture, which is Gullah Geechee culture. So shout out to everybody who Gullah Geechee. It's a lot of platforms. I know when I was doing my research and looking for more information, I saw a lot of platforms of people talking about it. So shout out to everybody. FBA Convo, what's going on? What up, though? Straight from Detroit. What's going on, brother? What's going on? So this first video, it's this couple that traveled to Savannah, and they talked to a couple historians in Savannah, and they gave a lot of history of the Gullah Geechee. So we're going to get into that. And so it's remember, this is the culture of people who came from Africa and was able to recreate culture here in America, and they still recognize their African roots, but they also understand that this is Gullah Geechee culture and they're here in America. So let's get to it. Please hit that like button, comment, subscribe, and share. I appreciate all of you. Let's do this.
Hello and welcome to the most haunted city on earth in collaboration with Visit Savannah. My name is Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Susie.
And today we are at the Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Center. And we are here today with Dr. Maxine Bryant. Dr. Maxine, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit further?
Well, hello there. I am so excited to be a part of your podcast today. I'm Dr. Maxine Bryant. I am the director of the Georgia Southern Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Center right here in beautiful Savannah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming out here today. Well, we came to you, but you know. Now, we have so many questions to ask you. Considering you are a doctor, you're an expert in your field, so we want to get all of the nitty gritty on the history of the Gullah Geechee and also all of the spiritual aspects that we have come to love here in Savannah.
Yes, that food.
Hey,
yes.
So let me first say that I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana, right? So I'm a long way from home. But when I came to Savannah and I became acquainted with the culture here, I became so enthralled. I became so excited about learning about African American history, about the African diaspora, about the Gullah Geechee culture. So Madison, you mentioned earlier that there's a sense of spirituality that is very steeped within the Gullah Geechee culture. So I write for the Savannah Morning News also, and I focus on Gullah Geechee culture, Black culture, and I just received a letter from a man out in the West Coast of the United States, and he identified as a white man, and he chastised me for calling Gullah Geechee people indigenous to this area. He said they came from Africa. They're not indigenous to the coastal Georgia area. So I had to educate him, right? So you're right. Gullah Geechee people are the descendants of Africans who were captured in West Africa, primarily Sierra Leone, Liberia, Ghana, those areas that were really well known for their rice culture growing skills, right? Rice growing skills. And they were brought to this region for that reason. Well, they were kept primarily on the Sea Island. Sapelo, Dafuski, St. Simons, Jekyll Island, all of those islands, that gave them the opportunity to create their own culture. To keep in mind that it was very intentional by the slave captors to separate people based on their tribes, their village, the region that they came from, to separate them, to reduce the likelihood of a revolt. And so that meant that the captured Africans who were on the islands often didn't speak the same language. So they had to come up with their own language. It's a blend of what they heard what's called the pale man speak. They picked up words here and there. They brought some of their words from Africa. They created new words Thus, we have the Gullah Geechee language. They also created their own culture, largely based on that which came from Africa. So we have their music, foodways, waterways, spirituality, all of that combined together to create what we now call the Gullah Geechee culture, which is the oldest, get this now, it is the oldest and most directly related culture back to Africa, right? So the Creole in New Orleans can't claim that, right? We have it right here in Savannah, Georgia. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, Will Justice, that gumbo, man, I love gumbo. Some of the, matter of fact, the best gumbo I've ever had was in Savannah, Georgia. The best gumbo I've ever had. But I actually just learned last night that I eat Hoppin' John all the time, which is a Gullah Geechee delicacy, a dish. Hoppin' John is field peas and rice, put them together. And my mom called me once a week. She got some field peas and rice ready. So, and that's one of the things we were just talking about on the phone is like, I eat rice with everything. And I know I have an uncle that eat rice with everything. So that's kind of some of the jokes that we had in our family about being Geechee. And so and echoing some of the sentiments of the historian, of course, we know the Gullah Geechee were descendants of Africans brought from West Africa, notably like Guinea and Guinea, Gambia, those West African countries of what they call that Gold Coast now, what we call it the Gold Coast now. And so I know from what I've learned, Gullah comes from more of the people who come from Angola, and Geechee comes more from the people who will come from Guinea, I believe. That's what I learned. And so, of course, now we know the Sea Islands stretch, like I said, down from North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and the northern part of Florida coming down to Jacksonville, Florida, right? So, and of course, they were the slave masters, the Europeans. They specifically enslaved Africans who could cultivate the rice plantations that they had. And so they put them on these sea islands to cultivate all these tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of rice, which made the white people rich. So now we're about to get into this language, because they say we ain't got no language. So here go the language. Please hit that like button. And look, gumbo, that gumbo and them jambalaya. Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
I think oftentimes in the Gullah Geechee community, Sister Rob, people think that we're speaking a broken English.
Oh, no.
It is so important that they know that we're not. We consider ourselves bilingual.
Yes,
We
bilingual.
speak the Queen's English perfectly in the right environment.
Yes, yes.
But when we get around family and friends, we know how to loosen our tongue.
Why you say that?
So when we come into a room and say, Grand Rising, I want to be.
Ooh, how you
That
be?
means, good morning, how are you?
That's right. That's
Whenever we say something that's
I
out
wanna
of
be.
order, we don't say anything. We just take a look-see at them and put our hands on our hip. That's all we do. We want people to know in terms of the language
Yes.
that Lorenzo Turner was the linguist that discovered this dialect from our ancestors being the turn of the century, 1900, that this is not a broken English. This is a language that's like a bowl of potpourri.
Yes.
You have a little Dutch, you have English, you have Creole, you have French, you have Portuguese. Anybody that enslaved us, we had to take on their language,
Yes, we
put
did.
it in one pot, shake it up,
Yeah.
and come up with our own language in order to communicate
Yes.
with all the tribes.
Ingenuous.
So when you say Angola, that's the Gullah people. When you say Geechee, that's the Geechee people from that
Yes.
tribe. But you're talking about all of us coming together with all of our tongues to come up with a language that we can understand. And no, it is absolutely not broken English.
No, it's not.
The doctor was going to give me a new knee on Tuesday, but I didn't tell him not no bill to kick me down. I coming right on here. So Y'all look here now. We go into various churches on Sunday morning, and we come out. We look at one another. What we've got? So what my we say? How about that religion? And more like we say, oh honey, it's just so sweet. We don't say them like that. We say, how about that religion? How about that religion? How about that religion?
So they, I want a pair of overalls. I really do want a pair of overalls. When I saw that, I was like, dang, I want a pair of overalls. But so this is getting into one of the things I was attempting to explain Saturday about the culture and getting into the, I guess you could say, the spiritual aspects of Gullah Geechee culture, and where the color Haint blue comes in as a protective measure against evil spirits or against the Haints or the Hags, and they're going to explain what the Haints or the Hags are, and then get into some of those blue bottles and like I say the significance of the color blue to the Gullah Geechee culture. We're talking about traditions, cultures, traditions, values, and things that go into a culture. So,
did you pick certain things to put into the Gullah Geechee Cultural Center?
As you mentioned, there's a strong thread, I think I will say that, of spirituality that connects people to the land, to the environment, to the water, everything. And so colors represent that connectivity. Haint blue, according to Gullah Geechee culture, keeps the evil spirits away. If you look at some of the porches, as you're driving through some of the neighborhoods in Savannah, you notice Haint blue on the porch. If you go into some of the homes, the ceilings are Haint blue. That's because there's a direct connection between heaven, what goes on there, and earth, the evil that's going on. And the blue heavens protect the people from the evilness in the world. So that's that connectivity.
One of the first cash crop that was explored was indigo. And out of indigo, once again, now you start talking about Haints, Hags, but in Africa, West Africa especially, the blue itself, the color blue, was a powerful color that was used to ward off evil spirits. So naturally, when our ancestors that were enslaved to harvest the indigo, once the day was done or that task was completed, they would clean these vats, and naturally they would paint their doorways and their windowsills with this indigo blue, which some people dub it as Haint blue. And that was to protect that house from any type of evil spirit from entering.
Another thing I wanted to point out is behind you, there is a blue bottle tree.
Yes.
So do you kind of want to give us an understanding of like what the blue bottle tree is, a little bit of the meaning behind it?
Yeah, definitely. So the bottle tree we have today is an artistic piece, but it's inspired by the real thing, which is simply glass bottles being strung up from trees or just laid out outside of home. And this was a protective method to protect people from Haints and Hags. Now, a hag was said to be a witch per se, who would summon up spirits or Haints that would peel off their skin, crawl into your home, sit on your chest to pin you down, and give you a nightmare.
And for a lot of black folk, this is when they say the witch is riding you when you're in that state between you're not sleeping, you're not awake, and you're trying to get up, and you can't move, and the old folk tell you that the witch is riding you. That's what he's explaining. But in the Gullah Geechee culture, they call it that Hank or that hag that's on you. So
now today we connect this with sleep paralysis. All right. But to prevent this from happening, people would hang bottles from trees outside their homes or just lay them out outside their homes. And they believed the colors of the bottle would distract these spirits. Now, once upon a time, most glass bottles would eventually turn a bluish green. All right. That's why the tradition today, we have blue bottles. But as they would hang the bottles, it was believed that as these spirits came by, they would be distracted by the colors. And as the sun would rise the next day, its rays would shine down, dispersing them, and they would not return. But as today, it's still practice. And so we can actually follow this practice across the Atlantic to where you'd start to see enslaved people paint their ceilings a blue. And then as time goes on, they paint their door trim, window trim. And today in the Southeast, you can find whole porches painted this Haint blue to ward off evil spirits.
slaves were targeted for their skills, for the fact that they knew what they were doing, that they had expertise. They weren't, savages in the jungle. They were peoples of a civilization. They had skills that were like rice growing. When you think of the American landscape, Savannah's a swampy marsh, and the kinds of things that you can grow here are limited. Rice being one of them, because you need marshland-like, environments. That's why the Sea Islands, were full of rice plantations. And they didn't bring people and teach them how to be rice growers. They went and got rice growers, experts in the field. So I think that became what we call folklore, is how people were explaining ancient knowledge without getting ancient knowledge.
Right.
Will Justice. Yeah, I remember the blue bottles in the trees. I do remember that. But yes. So Vincent Williams, thank you for that comment. So I did learn that Gullah Geechee do have connections and roots in the Bahamas. Now I didn't learn about Turks and Caicos. That's new, so thank you for that. But I did learn about the Bahamas as far as some of the Bahamians coming over and settling in the Sea Islands, and some of the enslaved Africans that were on the Sea Islands going to the Bahamas for freedom. So yes, yeah, thank you for that comment, because I forgot to mention that. Yes, they were specifically, most of the slaves that I know of that were brought over here specifically targeted for their skills. Yes. So let's keep this thing going. Please hit that like button. I appreciate you all for being in here, because we learning.
They recognize there's something there. This person picked a plant, put it down, and I felt better. Magic. And it's like, well, it was knowledge. And that kind of tells you that knowledge is magic. Knowledge is a type of deep and powerful magic.
So you mentioned hags. I know a lot of people don't like to bring up hags because if you don't know, they're horrifying. But can you kind of give us an understanding of what hags are, where they kind of came from?
Well, once again, it's kind of on the dark side of the spirituality part of it. When we were growing up, I could remember personally experiencing, and it's like your body goes into a paralysis. You're conscious, but you're conscious in your subconscious, I would say, because you could be reacting and nobody know what's going on with you other than yourself. And generally, it is described as a hag or witch riding you or weighting your back down, and you don't have any control of your body in the conscious state. Subconsciously, you hollering, screaming, and crying, but nobody can react to you. And I've heard tales that if one would recite a Bible verse or say a prayer, then this hag would leave you.
Right.
And that's what I did. And instantly,
I appreciate you, Will.
In all of our conversations, the hag does represent a very interesting answer, because people create monsters out of what they're afraid of. They create monsters because, and one of the hag's hallmarks is the hag can look like someone you love.
Well, and another thing with hags too that I've always made some form of a connection to is, some people refer to, people they don't like as hags, or like, that person's a hag, because they suck the life out of you. And it could be, have you ever met a person who you just
drains you?
It drains you of your energy. And I wonder if that can also be, just a way that people describe, like, oh, stay away from that woman. She's just a lot to deal with,
Absolutely. That's a good point, Madison. That was a way to explain how certain people make us feel. Drained. There are some people, you're in the company of them after an hour, it's like, okay, I'm ready to go. I can't deal with you anymore, right? Then there are other people I can be with, 24/7 just about. Right. And it's vibrant, it's energetic, it's good. There's a lot of synergy there. So imagine if I don't have the vocabulary to describe what I just said, and I'm using, my knowledge or whatever, I come up with this monster kind of thing. This person drains me. This person, gives me an evil feeling to be around them. So, yeah.
We see something wrong and we're like, well, we gotta have an answer for what's wrong.
Yeah.
And so we come up with these things, and they're amazing because they enrich they tell us about the culture, what they choose to be afraid of and what they choose to believe in.
Right.
So, that's kind of our bent, is to look at how these feelings.
So that's how I'm gonna go. That's the farthest I'm gonna go with this video, because I do have another one, but that one, I have the link to the full video in the description. So I have the link to this full video. The next video I'm going to show, I have the link to that, and I also have a link to an anthropological or archaeological study of Gullah Geechee culture here in the Americas and on the Sea Islands, like archaeological findings and everything about Gullah Geechee culture. So this next video, so it's an older video, but it's talking about Gullah Geechee culture, but also the gentrification that's happening with Gullah Geechee culture and how they've been fighting to protect the culture, protect the lands, everything that that they've worked to create over the last 250 years being on the Sea Islands. So we're talking about something Black people did. It's one example of a larger group of people in this one way of expressing Black American culture. It's that eastern coastal line way of expressing Black American culture through the Gullah Geechee. But Black Americans do have culture. Everybody has culture. Everybody on earth has culture. What we had to do is recreate culture for ourselves. Culture that explained how we interacted with our environment. Culture that explained how we survived. It's a resilient culture. It's a brilliant culture. It's a beautiful culture. It's a culture that produced it produced so much out of the little that it had left. Because I look at it, let's say 75 to 80, maybe even 90% of the African culture, the original African culture, was stripped from the slaves as they came here, but they held on to as little as they had, and was able to mix and mingle with everything around them, the environment around them, the people around them, and come up with this new age of Black American culture. You're right, Will. We are the culture. And we have our culture so beautiful. It's the variance of it. That's why, I love being Black. I love not just the superficial aspects that people like to praise about the culture, but the real aspects of the culture that really make us who we are, that really shows the essence of us. We have a lot of issues, but we do have a lot of good qualities and a lot of good values. And I like to make sure that I highlight that on this channel, because I love being Black. I love Black people, and I know we're better than what's being portrayed out there in the media. And it's part of our job to portray us in as best light as possible. The white folk gonna show the worst of us, but we can show the best of us. And we're gonna talk about everything, but we can show the best of us. So this next video, we're getting into more about Gullah Geechee culture, but like I said, it's an older video. It's getting more into Gullah Geechee culture, but also some of the issues that they're having with losing land to colonizers, so white America. So a show about me. What's going on, my brother? How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? It's a whole day. That's what I'm talking about. All right, so let's get this going. That's a school night. Please hit that like button too. Please hit that like button. All right, let's go.
PR's Vertimed Grosvenor.
My spirit calls out. My spirit calls out. My spirit calls out to thee. This is a place of spirit. 70% of the enslaved Africans who came to this country came ashore here on the coast of South Carolina. These Africans brought with them a set of traditions, skills,
and beliefs that came to be known as Gullah culture. The coastline from South Carolina to northern Florida is home to an estimated 300,000 Gullah people.
Hold on real quick. Logical. Thank you for becoming a channel member. You won't be disappointed with dropping good information all day, every day. Well, not all day, but every day. Thank you.
People. The Sea Islands, among them Edisto Island, Cussaw Island, Dafusky Island, and St. Helena Island, have provided Gullah roots for millions of African Americans. Before the Civil War, the Gullah were more autonomous than other American slaves, thanks to the heat and mosquitoes along the swampy Atlantic coastline, which drove slave owners inland during the months of April through October. After slavery, the Gullah were isolated, without bridges to the mainland, without the white presence. Their West African culture thrived. They refined their crafts, developed their own cuisine, and even spoke their own language. But it's in their relation to the land that their culture is made most manifest.
This land is living. These waterways are living. The oak trees are living. Even snakes that most of us don't want to see coming, they're living. For us, everything you touch, everything that you encounter has certain energy to it. And that energy is very real, and you have to know how to respect that energy.
St. Helena Island was an...
The young lady who was just talking, she serves as the elected monarch, Queen Quet, Marquetta Goodwine. She's the elected monarch of the chiefess of the Gullah Geechee Nation. I found a lot of her information. I got to watch a lot more, but Her Highness, the chiefess of the Gullah Geechee Nation,
is divided into communities that still bear the names of antebellum plantations: Fripp, Pope, Frogmore. It was here in Frogmore in 1862 that the Penn School was founded. It was the first school for freed blacks in the South. Teachers' diaries remark that their students, who were children, nursing mothers, old men, and old women, all came to classes hungry and eager to catch the learning.
They came to school to learn to read and write so they could sign their name to a deed. And so land was the objective of the newly freed people.
It was here in 1865 that Union General William Tecumseh Sherman issued his Special Field Order Number 15, promising 40 acres to blacks. Later that year, the order was rescinded, and the black-held land was returned to the Confederate owners who had fled when the Union Army came. Through sacrifice and hard work, some former slaves were able to buy land, especially in the Sea Islands. By 1868, half of Beaufort County was owned by Gullah. But ownership here meant something very different than it meant to the rest of the country.
That's what
families never thought that it was necessary to subdivide land and become individual owners of land. Land was used together, and therefore the whole culture was based on just joint community use of land.
It was that communal ownership of land that helped hold Gullah culture together in the 19th century, but in recent decades has begun to pull it apart. Marquetta Goodwine, also known as Queen Quet, is working against that trend. She is the founder of the Gullah Geechee Sea Island Coalition, an organization which seeks to educate people about Gullah traditions.
Gullah Geechee Nation has seen a lot of changes, and many of those changes have been brought because people did not have a clear understanding of our story.
When it comes to land, the story goes like this. If a Gullah landowner dies without a will, all of his or her heirs inherit the estate with no one person owning a specific part of it. Within a couple of generations, as more family members die without wills, dozens of relatives end up owning the land together. This process of inheritance is called heirs property.
But today that doesn't work because we have a whole new capitalistic system where you have to mortgage land to get a house, or you need to sell a piece to get cash. And therefore the whole problem of heirs property Heirs property now has become a problem that it never has been before.
For developers, there is an advantage in the heirs property system. If one individual or group of landowners is willing to sell, the developer can use that willingness as a wedge against the other owners.
You have heirs, members of the families who are living on the land, and then there are members who may be living in Washington or New York that don't have the same feeling or sense of place to the land. And you have the third party, the developer or the speculator, who would like to buy the entire tract of land to develop some business. And so they take advantage of this contention between the two groups and buy one group off and then go to court and force the sale of the entire tract.
It doesn't always take a court order to benefit developers. When some members of the Holmes family on Hilton Head Island wanted to sell their heirs property, another faction disagreed, but decided it was better to go ahead with the sale than to continue squabbling. Chinaberry Ridge Development now stands on that 40-acre plot. On St. Helena Island, land which once had little value to outsiders and sold for $3,000 an acre a decade ago, now sells for up to $20,000. Much of the Gullah fishing and farming land now has been developed into golf courses, resorts, and gated communities, bringing people from all across the country. And as the Gullah saying goes, everything change up now.
They come and they realize it's so dark here. I can see the stars, but it's so dark. Can we bring the street lights? Or can we have running water and sewer? And can we have wider traffic lanes and the stop lights and all the other things that we had back where we came from? But we like it here. Can we have the Starbucks? Can we have the conveniences of malls?
My spirit calls out.
The more they come and get involved with the land, the more the land is destroyed.
The Gullah have had an uneasy transition into the 21st century. And the question now is, can their culture enter the mainstream, or will it become a tourist attraction, a relic of the past?
I don't believe the living generation has the responsibility to preserve a way of life that we call culture and history. We need to establish museums and centers to preserve those things that we think were important part of our history, so that as we become a part of the mainstream of life, we don't have to burden ourselves down by trying to figure out how do we preserve the culture.
Perry White's family has owned land on Hilton Head Island since emancipation. He owns the Gullah Flea Market, which is operated on family land.
So many people come into this business, and the first thing they've said to me, isn't it a shame that we can't hear the people speak Gullah, or that we can't go and see things the way they used to be? Well, I grew up here prior to the bridge, prior to electricity, prior to running water and those things. And I question how many people would like to go back to that.
I think the Gullah culture could function very well within our capitalistic culture of today. Every restaurant now serves shrimp and grits. I mean, that's a delicacy. To us, that was just a simple meal. That part of the culture, the foodways, the baskets that we weave, is now as a commemorative art piece. You put it up on a shelf and you admire it. It's a nice conversation piece. And that, you know, one of those small baskets now can bring $200-300.
Awaken this day and begin a new start.
Gazing across the landscape, the Gullah are reflecting on the hard work and sacrifice of their African ancestors and pondering their place in the 21st century.
If I were to take now and sell the land, it was as if I was taking my entire family and putting them again on the auction block. And whenever I'm out in the field, when I'm planting things, when I'm harvesting things, I feel all of them in that field still with me. As I was taught, you know, the big fish, they eat up the leaf fish. And you can't have all of the big ones just coming in chewing up the smaller ones just because of size. You have to bear in mind that those little ones have something that they give too.
My spirit calls out. My spirit calls out to me.
So Gullah Geechee culture, Gullah Geechee history. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful. Where my hand claps at? Where my hand claps at? Cause that's beautiful, man. That is beautiful Black American culture. But one thing I do like is they recognize the ancestry molded into. It's part of the foundation of Gullah Geechee culture. We are going to remember and recognize the past, but also build upon this so we can have a future here in this land where we are, and being able to recreate the culture into something beautiful like that. And I was watching another video, and it was one of the, and I'm not taking this to the bank. I'm not saying take this to the bank, but one of the persons in the video was saying that they believe that there are a great number of Black Americans who do have Gullah Geechee roots, but may not know it. And they say that because so many African slaves came through South Carolina, came through Georgia and Sea Islands and Savannah area, and spread out through the country. But Gullah Geechee culture is something that has definitely impacted my family, and I know it impacted other people's family too. So some of my notes is talking about some of the persistence and the migration and the cultural attention of the Gullah Geechee, right? It's talking about that through the Jim Crow and the Great Migration, many Gullah Geechee people remained in the coastal communities, but others moved north for work. And it says, because outsiders often dismiss their speech and customs as backwards, the Gullah way of life was both stigmatized and paradoxically romanticized by some tourists and collectors. And so basically, they were looking down on Gullah Geechee speech, looking down on Gullah Geechee culture and ways of life. Basically, they were dismissing it. One of the things that what brought us here, saying it's not real culture, it's not language, it's not real history, all those things there. And so now they're saying coming into the mid 20th century, you had a linguist and an anthropologist. Turner is the last name, but that person helped to document and validate Gullah as a legitimate Creole language and culture. And there were a lot of cultural preservation efforts as well, as far as schools, museums, and the Penn Center on St. Helena Island. Those places became pivotal. And I know the Cultural Center in Savannah, Georgia, and a lot of the work in Savannah, Georgia. Matter of fact, I have a video on this channel about a gentleman named W.W. Law. And if you go on my channel, go through my channel and look for the video. Matter of fact, I'll put it in the description when I get off here. I'll put it in the description for this. But W.W. Law was responsible for documenting a lot of the Black history and the Geechee history of Savannah. And he's one of the main foundations of Savannah Geechee history. And like I said, I've been to Savannah 4 times. There's a specific tour in Savannah. There's a Black history tour, and then there's I think they call it the Freedom Tour, the Liberation Tour. A guy named Johnny Brown, I believe that's his name. But if you take that specific tour, that tour will give you more of the Geechee history and the real Black history that happened in Savannah. There's a more popular Black history tour in Savannah, but there's with that tour with that Johnny Brown guy, that's more of a thorough history of Black Savannah and the Gullah Geechee history in Savannah. Yeah, I need to learn way more about Gullah Geechee culture and history myself. I wanna dive into it. So you said Geechee was used as a derogatory term for real? What it was used by whites or Blacks? There was a movie where the officer was talking down on the brother because he was on respectability. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I get what you're saying now. Yeah. They did talk down on Geechee, and they did look at them in a derogatory fashion, especially because of the Gullah Geechee language, which is been recognized as an official dialect, an official language, or official Creole language, as a matter of fact. Said Dr. Lorenzo Dow Turner. Thank you. Dr. Lorenzo Dow Turner, DF Newt, DFG Newt. Thank you. Said, matter of fact, Immortal Technique used to clip from that movie. I know what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about now. But yeah, like I'm not gonna act like I'm an expert on Gullah Geechee culture and history and things. Like I said, I want to learn a lot more, but I was inspired by the Saturday Live to go further into Black American culture and learn more about Gullah Geechee culture, and this would be the door opening into getting more into Black American culture. You said your great grandmother's first cousin was Dr. Lorenzo Dow Turner. That's what's up. Well, he did a great job. Great job. Says, thank God it's over. Said Black and white equal colonizer, language equal rootless. Gotcha. So yeah, man, Gullah Geechee culture is one of the many Black American cultural expressions that we have. It's one of the oldest Black American cultural expressions that we have. The lady in the video said it was the oldest. I can't take that to the bank. So I will say it's one of the oldest Black American cultures and cultural expressions that we have here in America. Just to educate, not necessarily trying to prove a point, but educate, make sure that our youth know that we're more than what they see on TV now. We're looking at Black people not in the best light, but also they do like to show the worst of us. Once again, on this channel, I like to make sure that I can show the best of us. We're going to talk about everything, but I want to show more of the best of us. So that's why most Wednesdays, not every Wednesday, sometimes I can't get to it, but most Wednesdays I put out my information. Matter of fact, I have a video on the Gullah Geechee culture. Matter of fact, I'm gonna run my video real quick on the Gullah Geechee culture that I put together not too long ago, because I got the spirit to talk about Gullah Geechee culture, so I did. He says Daughters of the Dust is a wonderful movie about the Gullah Geechee. I've heard about Daughters of the Dust, but I haven't seen it. I got to watch it. Daughters of the Dust. I have heard about that movie. Says our main task is social cohesion, understanding why it's important to focus on where we agree and what we like about each other, and to ignore it. Yes, and to know everything else. Yes, sir. Brian Jefferson, you are correct, my brother. And I give myself 2 claps for reading your name right, because I would definitely mess your name up. But so let me find my video. I just remember that I did a video on Gullah Geechee culture not too long ago. Let me see where it's at. Here we go. Let me get this together. Then I'm gonna run this, and then it's a school night, so we can't be on here too long, but we here. All right, so I'm turn this music down a little bit. Get this together. So I'm gonna run this video. Y'all tell me what y'all think. This is my bad. This is my video that I put together a couple weeks ago on Gullah Geechee culture. Along the shimmering coastline of the southeastern United States, from the sandy shores of North Carolina down through South Carolina, Georgia, and into northern Florida, lives a people whose culture is one of the most distinct and enduring African legacies in America. They are the Gullah Geechee, the descendants of enslaved Africans who transformed isolation into preservation and oppression into a living testimony of African resilience. When European enslavers first arrived on the Carolina and Georgia coast during the 16 and 1700s, they sought fertile land for rice, indigo, and cotton, crops that demanded intense labor and skill. To meet this demand, enslavers specifically imported Africans from the rice coast of West Africa, present-day Sierra Leone, Liberia, Senegal, and Gambia, where people cultivated rice for centuries. These Africans brought with them not only their agricultural experience, but their languages, spiritual practices, and community structures. Because of the region's swamps, mosquitoes, and deadly heat, white plantation owners often avoided living on the isolated coastal islands and lowlands. leaving the Africans to manage the plantations largely on their own. This isolation, both geographic and social, allowed the enslaved people to preserve their African traditions to a degree unmatched anywhere else in America. Over time, they blended African, English, and Creole influences to form a new cultural identity. Gullah in South Carolina and Georgia, and Geechee in northern Florida and parts of Georgia. Their language, known as Gullah or Geechee, is one of the most unique linguistic creations in the Americas. It is a Creole language born from the merging of English with African languages such as Mende, Vai, Wolof, and Yoruba. The language carried African rhythms, sentence structures, and proverbs, a living bridge between the old world and the new. To this day, Gullah remains a vital part of the community's identity and oral tradition that connects generations. The foodways of Gullah Geechee are equally rich and rooted in African heritage. Dishes like red rice, okra soup, gumbo, shrimp and grits, and hoppin' john trace their origins directly to West African cuisines. The same ingredients, rice, okra, sesame, and seafood that sustained their ancestors across the Atlantic became the foundation of what would later influence Southern and African American cooking as a whole. Every dish tells a story of survival, creativity, and remembrance. After emancipation, many Gullah Geechee families remained on the Sea Islands. Places like St. Helena, Sapelo, Dafuski, and Hilton Head, building self-sufficient, close-knit communities. For generations, they farmed, fished, and lived off the land and sea, maintaining cultural independence. Their isolation continued to protect their traditions long after slavery ended. But as the 20th century unfolded, the Gullah Geechee homeland came under attack, not from plantations this time, but from developers and government policies. The very isolation that preserved their culture also left them vulnerable. Because many Gullah Geechee people held their land through heirs' property, they became easy targets for outside buyers, tax schemes, and eminent domain. From the 1950s onward, the Sea Islands became coveted tourist destinations. Developers began to buy up massive amounts of land and build resorts, golf courses, and luxury homes. On islands like Hilton Head and Kiowa, entire Gullah communities were displaced. What had been sacred family land for generations, land worked, protected, and buried upon, was stripped away, sometimes through deceptive practices or skyrocketing property taxes that made it impossible for families to stay. Today, the struggle continues. Despite recognition of the Gullah Geechee as a unique cultural group, including the creation of the Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Corridor by the U.S. Congress in 2006, the community faces ongoing threats from gentrification, climate change, and loss of land. In places like Sapelo Island, elders still fight in court to keep what remains of their ancestral property. Yet, despite all of this, the Gullah Geechee spirit remains unyielding. Their language is being taught again to younger generations. Their food, art, music, and storytelling are celebrated in festivals from Charleston to Jacksonville. And their connection to Africa, one of the deepest in all of Black America, continues to remind us that no matter how far they were carried across the ocean, Africa never left them. The story of the Gullah Geechee people is the story of endurance, of how a people carved freedom, identity, and legacy outside of isolation. It is a reminder that within the hidden corridors of the American coastline lives a nation that refused to be erased. As the tide rises and the land changes, the Gullah Geechee fight not just for property, but for the right to remain whole, to keep alive a culture that tells us who we were, who we are, and who we must never forget to be. To all of the descendants of the Gullah Geechee culture, we proudly stand on your shoulders. Yeah, so that's my video. I forgot I put that video together earlier. But so that's my video that I put together a couple weeks ago talking about the Gullah Geechee culture. Yeah, it is only the tip of the iceberg. We got to go deeper. I got to learn a lot more. I got a lot more phone calls to make and all that stuff there. So yeah. Man, what was the comment I'm looking for? Will Justice, I appreciate you for sending me your information, my brother. Says that's Mom Bet. So, and I have to learn. I want to learn more. What's the Dr. Lorenzo Dow Turner? Ah, man, I really need to learn more about Dr. Lorenzo Dow Turner now. Now that I said the name again, is ringing bells. But yeah, I have to definitely learn more about that. More about Dr. Lorenzo Dow Turner. Says, yes, his father, Rooks Turner, built the first school for Black people in Elizabeth City, North Carolina. The amazing thing was that Rooks Turner did not attend school to 1865. That's what's up. He said he was 22 years old. That's what's up. He said, hello, I'm a Geechee girl born and raised in Charleston, South Carolina. I definitely appreciate the coverage exposure. It's a beautiful place. The food is great and the people are welcoming. Hey, look, Charleston is definitely a place that's on my list to go visit. I was in Chirral, Bennettsville, and Blenheim, South Carolina in July. I went to the country style cook-off and I was in that area. And so, yeah, I've also been in the, like I say, Hilton Head and Beaufort, South Carolina area as well. So my bet she sued for her freedom. That's what's up, man. Yeah, environmental racism is definitely a real thing. So that's why, speaking of environmental racism, this book right here from the good brother, Dr. Bruce Strobel, it talks a lot about environmental racism and what we can do to help preserve the environment and fight back against environmental racism, all things that's going on. So by any dreams necessary, by the brother, Dr. Bruce Strobel Jr. So hit me up if you're trying to get some copies of that book, support the brother. So say they lied and said Black Americans. Man, look here, man. I could be here all night exposing this culture. I could be here all night. But everybody, all humans have culture. Yeah. So I got to teach at MIT about, oh man, that's what's up. That's what's up, my brother. Yeah, we definitely got to talk. And I got to connect you with the brother Bruce Strobel. Look, I appreciate you all for rocking with me tonight. Like I said, it's a school night. So of course I ain't gonna go as long as I would on the Saturday. You know, last Saturday we went 3 hours. And I appreciate everybody for rocking with me. Every Tuesday at 9 p.m. I'm here. We're gonna be learning something. We're gonna have fun while we learn, but we're gonna learn and we're gonna make sure that the next generation can have real information about who we are and be able to pick that information up and run with it and then even pass it forward. Because that's part of the culture. That's how you keep the culture alive, is teaching it and making sure it get passed down from generation to generation, but also putting an importance on the culture, putting an importance on the history, the knowledge, the customs, the traditions, recreating some if we have to, because we are people who know how to recreate culture. We know how to recreate ourselves. We know how to be resilient and be one with the environment and make sure that we be influenced by our environment and things around us. So please, John, here, you already know it, Gullah Geechee Nation, all day, every day. It's going down. Black culture, Black people. We love who we are. We love our history. We love our culture. One thing we're not going to allow anybody to do is tell us who we are. Tell us who we're not. Define us. Nobody's going to define us. We define ourselves. That's part of being human, to define yourselves. And Black Americans, we're going to continue. We've been defining ourselves. We're going to continue to define ourselves. And nobody's going to define us but us. We're in charge of that. That's why we need to know our history and our culture and make sure that we're passing it down. It's important. And I want to be a part of that. And I've been a part of that. I'm going to keep being a part of that. And I appreciate everybody for tuning in on this good Tuesday night. It's cold as hell. It was 29 degrees this morning in Florida. I'm in Tallahassee, Florida. I'm in North Florida. It was 29 degrees. We had like a 40-degree temperature change. It was 29 degrees when I went outside this morning. When I about 3:30, it was 71 degrees. Like, God dang, it was colder than the mug. But yeah, we're gonna control our narrative. Y'all stay warm out there. Please continue to learn. Please continue to grow. Check out my book reading that I did on Monday. We're finishing and continuing our reading of Dr. Carter G. Woodson's book, The Miseducation of the Negro. My video today at 1 p.m. I dropped Dr. Marimba Ani talking about Urugu and what Urugu is. So make sure you check that out. What's the name of that video? What did I name that? Real quick, let me tell you what I named it. It says, they believe they're ordained to be oppressors. That's going with the information that Dr. Marimba Ani is talking about. The thumbnail is saying domination is our nature. So please check out my videos. And you know, I'm dropping more videos tomorrow. Every day at 1 p.m. Check me out. Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Saturdays 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hey, great book. Great book, great book, great book, great book. Now, one more thing I do want to say. There was a young man that went viral, that's going viral right now, that's saying that there was no slavery in Florida. I'm not trying to promote slavery, nothing like that, but we got a lot of history. And I got a lot of books. We got a lot of history. This is by Dr. Larry Eugene Rivers, a great, great, great historian on things that happened in Florida. Just a lot of people be out there loud and wrong. I be wrong sometimes. I try to be quiet and wrong. But I don't know everything, but good book to read about slavery in Florida. And of course, you already know this book. You already know. If you don't have it, link is in the description. Compensatory code, Neely Fuller Jr. Make sure you check it out. Make sure you do what you do. Y'all, look, have a great Tuesday. Have a great night. Y'all stay warm. Get you some good food. Make sure you're loving on each other. Let's keep promoting Black love, Black continuity, Black people being together, us raising our vibration, bettering our image. We understand that there's a lot of negativity and a lot of people who represent the worst of us that are being put out there, but we know that's not who we are as a whole. So let's continue to put positive images out there, positive messages, spread love, support each other, and let's do what we do and continue to grow, glow, and get our thing on. So I love you all. Y'all stay Black. Be proud of being Black. And I see y'all Saturday at 3:30. Y'all be here Saturday. You got to speak to Neely. Oh, man, I'm jealous. You got to speak to Neely Fuller. I am jealous. I'm jealous now. But that's what's up, though. That's what's up, though, my brother, man. And I'm definitely hit you up, man. I'm definitely check my email and hit you up. I love you all. Y'all have a great Tuesday night. I'll see y'all on Saturday. Peace out.